Imagine a vast tangle of wild river lands ripe with willow, cottonwood, and full with weaving expanses of dogwood, ash, and elder. A place with immense side channels and backwaters teeming with aquatic life. Birds, amphibians, and mammals. Proposed in the 60s, it was a visionary idea. The plan was to establish a nearly 200-mile-long corridor along the river on par with the vast Oregon coast, or the majestic Cascade Mountain Range. It was envisioned as a place for nature, and a place where people could use and access the river, be immersed in it, and, hopefully, gain some solitude and meaning from it. On today's episode of Nature Nerds, we'll be adventuring through Darrow Bar, one small but beautiful section of the Willamette River Greenway. Darrow Bar is located just north of West Salem, in the great state of Oregon. From the road, you might not even realize it's there. There are many trails carved throughout the park, as well as a bench placed here or there. But on the whole it remains fairly untouched and wild. One thing you should keep in mind, the parking lot is quite small, accommodating 5 to 6 vehicles at most. This can be a blessing, but also a curse, should you find yourself arriving to find it full. But don't fret, there are other greenway parks just down the river. We begin our trek into the woods. A stark change from the golden fields surrounding the parking area. This is broadleaf plantain. It's a widely used medicinal crop. A poultice of the leaves can be applied to wounds to reduce pain and prevent infection. Plantain has astringent properties, and a tea made from the leaves can be ingested to treat diarrhea and soothe raw internal membranes. It's also quite nutritious, being high in calcium and vitamins A, C, and K. The younger leaves are great in salads, while the older leaves are tougher and are better cooked into soups and stews. The seeds are so small that they are tedious to gather, but they can be ground into a flour substitute if you have a large enough patch. Old-growth trees are scattered throughout Darrow, a common feature of many Willamette Greenway spaces. Our camera doesn't do them justice. They must be seen with the human eye. This is heel all, or common self-heal. It is a well-known plant both to the herbalist and the forager. Topical poultices of heel all have been demonstrated to be strongly antimicrobial, and encourage the development of collagen fibers, in even quite severe wounds. Some studies have shown strong immune-boosting, antiviral, and even anti-cancer properties. It is edible, containing vitamins A, C, and K, as well as flavonoids and rutin. The young leaves and stems can be eaten raw in salads. The plant in whole can be boiled and eaten as a pot herb. And the aerial parts of the plant can be powdered and brewed in a cold infusion to make a beverage. We've finally made it to the river's edge. What appears to be the other side of the riverbank is in fact Darrow Bar, a quite large island suitable for camping, and the namesake of this section of the Greenway. Thousands of young fish rest in the waters below. Soon they will be strong enough to leave these calm shores and venture out into the deep, wild river. A great blue heron hangs out nearby. It is truly one of North America's most majestic wild birds. The primary food for heron being small fish, it's easy to see why it hunts here. The great blue heron is also known to opportunistically feed on a wide range of shrimp, crabs, aquatic insects, rodents, and other small mammals, amphibians, reptiles, and birds, especially ducklings. Herons are very cautious birds, and will often take flight once they have spotted something that they perceive as a threat. They will beat their wings quite hard while taking off, and then catch winds and glide, gracefully cruising at speeds between 20 to 30 miles per hour. A heron will typically live for around 15 years, with the longest recorded age being 24. These shadowy figures in the water are large fish. They appear to be as big as an adult male's forearm. Many were visible, wading just below the surface, out in the deep. This is a species of flowering plant known by the common names California centaury, or charming centaury. This is stinging nettle. It has hollow stinging hairs on the leaves and stems, which act like hypodermic needles, injecting biochemical irritants, such as histamine, serotonin, and choline, which cause an inflammatory effect on the skin, a stinging, burning sensation often called contact urticaria. The plant has a long history of use as a source for traditional medicine, food, tea, and textile raw material in ancient societies. Historically, nettles have been used to make clothing for over 2,000 years. It is edible and has a flavor similar to spinach mixed with cucumber when cooked. It is rich in vitamins A and C, iron, potassium, manganese, and calcium. The leaves are also dried and can then be used to make a herbal tea, as can be done with the nettle's flowers. Soaking stinging nettles in water, or cooking, removes the stinging chemicals from the plant, which allows them to be handled and eaten without injury. After the stinging nettle enters its flowering and seeding stages, the leaves develop gritty particles called cystoliths, which can irritate the urinary tract. The blackberries are in season as well. As we meander through the many trails, we find them too tempting to resist. This elderberry has seen impressive growth this year. The new stalks are taller than either of us. I'm unsure what this wildflower is called, even after much research, but I believe it is a member of the hawksbeard family. This is Oregon grape, the state flower of Oregon. Also called holly-leaved barberry, the Oregon grape is a shrub native to much of the Pacific coast. Its year-round foliage of pinnated, waxy green leaves resembles holly, and resists wilting. The small purplish-black fruits, which are quite tart and contain large seeds, are included in smaller quantities in the traditional diets of Pacific Northwest Aboriginal peoples, often mixed with salal, or another sweeter fruit. Today, they are sometimes used to make jelly, alone or mixed with salal. Oregon grape juice can be fermented to make wine, similar to European Barbary wine folk traditions, although it requires an unusually high amount of sugar. The berries can also be eaten raw after the season's first frosts. Another common use is for various dyes: yellow from the bark and purple from the berries. There are some potential medicinal uses as well. The chemicals in Oregon grape might help fight bacterial and fungal infections and may also slow the overproduction of skin cells in diseases such as psoriasis. But do be careful to watch out for the poison oak nearby, or you'll likely suffer an unpleasant allergic reaction. This is thimbleberry. Thimbleberry is a native plant similar to a raspberry, but quite unique, with softer, smaller fruit. Due to their fragile nature, they are rarely cultivated commercially. The water content of ripe berries is quite variable, and they can be eaten raw, dried, or cooked. The flowers support pollinators, being loved by bees, while birds favor the fruit. It is also the larval host and a nectar source for the yellow-banded sphinx moth. Many parts of the plant were used in folk medicine. A tea made from its leaves or roots was thought to be a treatment for wounds, burns, acne, or digestive problems. As of 2019, there is no evidence from modern research that suggests they are effective for treating any disease, but the leaves do make a great natural tissue when needed. Currently, the Oregon State Parks and Recreation Department manages over 10,000 acres of parks and natural areas along the Willamette and its tributaries. The Greenway has a special place in the hearts of many, providing solitude, quiet, and an abundance of wildlife and native plants. Some of these places are seldom visited, but to know they are being protected is something that can be valuable for all of us. If you can visit one of these places, think not only of what you see in the moment, but also think of what has been, in the long meandering history of the Willamette River, and envision what might come to pass in these dense, beautiful, floodplains and backwaters. Thanks for watching, Nature Nerds. We'll see you next time for a new adventure.